Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Joe Tossi from TechTables.com, and you're listening to the Public Sector Show by TechTables. This podcast features human-centric stories from public sector CIOs, CISOs, and technology leaders across federal, state, city, county, and higher education. You'll gain valuable insights into current issues and challenges faced by top leaders. Through interviews, speaking engagements, live podcast tour events, we offer you a behind-the-mic look at the opportunities top leaders are seeing today. And to make sure you never miss an episode, head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and hit that follow button and leave a quick rating. Just tap the number of stars that you think this show deserves.
Today, we're super excited to have Kendra Ketchum, Vice President for Information Management and Technology and CIO at the University of Texas, San Antonio, and Jared Pane, Director of Solutions Architecture at Elastic. Welcome to the Public Sector Show by TechTables.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Super excited to have you both on. Kendra, this has been a long time coming. We'll start with you. Just a quick intro for those who don't know you.
Sure. My name's Kendra Ketchum. I'm the VP of IT here at the University of Texas in San Antonio. And I've been in higher education now for almost 26 years. So I really work and live in an industry of which I feel is changing society and the community. It's giving back in a way that I think is extremely important. And I think the one thing that we can say is building upon knowledge is growth, and growth is what we want. And so I love what I do. And I'm a former Navy girl, so I spent about 10 years in the military and positioned myself to transition right out of the military and straight into higher ed. And I love it. So it's a place where I don't feel like it's a job. I'm serving, and I'm serving others bigger than myself.
Yeah, no, I love that. Jared?
Yeah, so Jared Pane, Director of Solution Architecture. I've been working at Elastic for about 6.5 years now. Previous to Elastic, I was at Red Hat, and then I worked for the state of California for the better part of 15 years. All I've been doing is public sector, from state, local to education. Lately, been focusing a lot more education, higher ed and K-12s over the past couple of years, just because of where Elastic is growing in that community. And because of like our open source roots and where we are, it's really easy to give education, universities and K-12s like actual access to things when budgets are really tight. Anyway, I'm really excited to be here. Really looking forward to the conversation today.
I love it. And I know you're in Sacramento, but remind me, what agency did you work for in California?
California Department of Justice.
Okay, got it. Awesome. Kendra, so I've heard you speak before, both at Task, and we took an intro call a long time ago when I was at Disneyland with my family. That was commitment. It was a ton of fun. The family was getting food, but I loved the phrase that you had: humble, hungry, and kind. And so first I was curious, what inspired that motto? And second, can you share a recent example of how that helped you at UTSA?
Absolutely. So we've all heard that antic of brilliant jerks, right? They know everything and they're brilliant, but they're just not nice to people. They don't share, they don't ideate, they don't have a community, they don't create a trust mechanism within an organization, and typically they don't drive results, okay, period. And I started seeing that when I pivoted into higher ed, that there was this missing component in technological workspaces that was the smartest, brilliant jerk moved ahead the fastest, and usually ended up managing 5 and 6 to 20 people at a time and had no experience. And what I try to do is flip the script on that. Is I don't need a brilliant jerk. Matter of fact, I don't usually hire those. I avoid them because there are things that I can teach you in the technical space, but I can't teach you to be a good person, right? We learn behaviors. They're ingrained in us as small children. And so it's like coming into the workplace, what do you want on your team? Do you want an ideal team member, right? I want to drive to results when I know I have an ideal team member that wants to do the same thing. And so it's creating that synergy of finding people that have behaviors in the workplace that demonstrate and lift others up. And so it's actually a little bit of Pat Lencioni's work, hungry, humble, kind. And sometimes though, folks can mistake the kind piece for weakness, right? And so it's trying to navigate that in a way where you pluck those skills out of the people that you bring into your team, and you're very selective. If you can only influence culture at hire and fire, why would you want to do it at fire? Why would you not want to do it at fire when you're bringing someone new in? And so that's where my passion lies. My passion lies in building teams, just like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It shows you've got trust at the bottom of that, and you've got results at the top of that. And in between are enablement, communication, things that we as leaders are supposed to do. But I think it's a really good place to be, to build this off of trust, have a team member that's hungry, humble, and kind. They're there to serve other people. I don't need you serving yourself, right? And so anyway, that's where I invest, that's where I mentor, that's where I teach and train. I've worked around technological teams that are extremely technical, but they couldn't be nice to each other. And guess what happens when you can't be nice to each other? I stop you from being successful and you stop me from being successful. And now we got this stalemate within our org. And then that type of behavior and culture festers. And I feel like if you want to get past that, we just have to be real, real talk. Sometimes they always call it real talk with Kendra. On Thursday, we're going to have real talk.
Okay, so I love this. So I coach high school basketball. Tryouts are November 1st. And every year, you get a new team on the JV squad. Because how it works is the best players move on to varsity, and then the kids who are not moving up, unfortunately, will get cut. So this is most of the time new kids. And every year you've got to rebuild the team, rebuild the culture. So you said real talk with Kendra. It's funny. I find the team starts to gel when we have fan time, which is when we go to away games.
When
right?
it's real you, right?
100%. And you start to get to know the kids at Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out or wherever you're stopping.
You're seeing their behaviors too.
100%.
Right? You're witnessing their behaviors.
And sometimes it's hey, this is not the right behavior. You need to come take a seat on the bench. Sometimes, hey, actually, I want to encourage you. This is great. Keep it up. I notice exactly what you're doing. So I often will bring, because you also have basketball background, bringing that into the conversation, because there's such a team component that I love so much, even within your public sector. If you can't get the team right, the whole thing is going to collapse. Yeah. Jared, Elastic is known for its secret sauce in AI search. Break down for us how Elastic is helping to address the unique cybersecurity challenges faced by higher ed, and maybe throw in an example of a university that had a wow moment using Elastic.
Yeah, definitely. So like you just said, the secret sauce of Elastic is definitely our AI search. We're a vector database. We pride ourselves on speed, scalability, and relevant results, like at all times, the snap of a finger. And when you're dealing with it from like a cybersecurity perspective, I like to tell people like that is the difference between being on the news and not being on the news, right? Nobody wants to be on the news because of a ransomware attack or anything else that helps. It's like real-time responses to what is happening with your data right now. And so how Elastic is really doing it is that because we're a vector database on the back end, because we have this background in search, because we are so powerful from a data perspective, we've integrated that into our security platform in general. And so instead of searching through petabytes of data, which would take hours, maybe days, depending on what solution you're using, we can do it in seconds. And we do it in seconds. And when you're looking at it from a security perspective, seconds matter. Responses matter. Response times matter. Even in IT in general, like you need to be fast. Like you don't go to Netflix or Wikipedia and expect like you're looking for.
If that end sits there for more than 30 seconds, you're
losing your mind, or you're leaving, right? And that's the reason it's like instant gratification, and it works just like you were saying, like with tech. And how we're doing that is we're building in a lot of these AI functionalities into our extremely fast search security engine. And we're bringing those results to the top quickly. An example would be like our attack discovery. What we have, it's inside our security application. And what it does is that you have all of these alerts. If you're a security analyst and you have all of these alerts that are coming in at a specific time, you're not going to look through 7,000 alerts. I remember a couple of my friends who used to work on the cybersecurity team. They would come into work in the morning, they'd get their coffee, and they would look at the 2,500 alerts that just came in, and they're like,
what a waste of time.
I don't have time for this. Because 99.9% of those are all ridiculous. Like, they don't matter.
They don't correlate to
the bigger picture of what you're trying to do, or they're not real threats that are happening in real time. So like internally to Elastic Attack Discovery, it takes those alerts, it uses generative AI, and it processes all those alerts for you, for the analyst. And it tells you which one has the probability of the highest score that is actually an attack that is happening right now, gives you a summary of that alert of what's happening, tells you where on the attack vector it is, and then how to remediate the next steps and how to do it. And what that's really doing is this taking hours and days of work that these analysts used to do and compounds it down to 5 to 10 minutes. So that's how we're really happening, and that's how we're helping a lot of the universities and the higher education.
And then I turn around with that piece there, and that time and momentum that's created by the automation and orchestration of their once workflows and workloads, I now then take that time internally and allow them to innovate. So the outcome of what you just mentioned is something that's more valuable than anything in your org, more valuable than any tech. It's the ICAP that comes out when you have idle time, you're able to innovate and ideate. And I
That's the
think-
thing. You want
yeah.
security analysts to be security analysts. You don't want them to be developers.
Yeah.
You want them to stop threats in real time when they need it. And back to the last part of that question, like something that really had a wow moment. I can't mention the university, but we were working with them with a POV. They had a competitor's product. They were looking to get rid of it. And they brought us in to say, like, hey, can you do a POV? Just show us what Elastic is. We're going to kick the tires. And we're like, yeah, no worries. What do you know about us? Not really much. We just know that a couple of other people of our friends use it, and we've been told that they really like it. We'll need it. No problem. We started a POV, and within an hour, they were finding vulnerabilities that the other software, the other security product they were using hadn't caught at all, period. We were finding vulnerabilities that have been living off the land for more than 4 years. And they were like, this is ridiculous. We had a justifiable thing that had actually happened. We found 2 of them, actually. And these were things that they weren't even catching. But I will say this, as much as the Elastic the platform is really good, our team, we have a dedicated team of security practitioners that build out alerts and detection rules at all times. That's their job. They're out there threat hunting at all times. And that's why Elastic is so powerful, is because we want to do, and you said humble and doing what's right and being hire the same way. I always want to hire some people who are kind, who are humble, and who want to help others. And I always tell people, like, customers first at all times, period. Get them up and running, make sure that they're right, take care of them. We're not here just to sell software. We're here to take care of them and make sure that the things that they need are handled at all times. Like, in short, that's the secret sauce of Elastic, is how we take care of our customers, but also the backbone of how good our product is behind it.
That's great. So last year I threw an event at UTSA, and it was awesome. Had a ton of fun. And before that, the day before the event, I got to visit the Security Operations Center, which was a ton of fun. Got the whole tour, even got photos with Thomas and some of the kids. I call them kids because, yeah, I'm a little bit older than them, but yeah, it was a ton of fun. Had a blast with them. But I was curious, Kendra, I've been meaning to ask you, what was your vision for UTSA's SOC being a world-class? Because it was a pretty awesome operation to go out, tour, see it firsthand.
And we got to build it.
Yeah.
And here's the really cool thing. When we got to build it out, I didn't just sit behind this curtain and say, oh, I want to do this and this. I got the city of San Antonio to the table. They're running a SOC. They know what is needed in a SOC. I got the cyber defense folks. I got Cymani. I got the Department of Energy, Department of Defense, NIH, like people that understand the true benefits that a SOC could deliver. But we all know what a SOC can deliver. I actually pulled the onion back another layer and said, okay, tell me, when my students leave this SOC, would you hire them tomorrow? That was the bigger litmus test. Would you hire one of my students tomorrow if we did not have that, if they weren't coming out of that ecosystem, would you? And the answer is no, because they don't understand what the work they're doing. They are unable to correlate the application of the theory that they learn in college, right? And so I think that's where, and again, this comes back, and you asked what inspired or what made it, and it goes back to a kind of a selfish need, and what I saw coming through is I'm a very non-traditional student. And I, like I said, was in the military. I finished my degree. I had a 12-year-old at the time that I was single momming, and I was like, I want more, right? And it was probably the 10th time of me saying that, where I finished that college degree and finished all that. So what can we do now that I am in this space to make other people in my situation that I experienced have a pathway to an education? It shouldn't be so hard, right? And I think that's the piece of why I'm doing it, why I've stayed in higher ed, is I want to see people get those opportunities. I want to see them have that connective tissue. And then I saw a need. The students were coming in, oh, we're here, we got all of our curriculum, we have all of our requirements, and then they graduated and they moved out of San Antonio. That doesn't do anything for our workforce in San Antonio.
Right.
That does nothing for our community, does nothing for economic mobility. It has no instantiation into the actual economy here. So I kept thinking, what if? What if the FBI could use our students? What if they could come in and use our students? What if we had a program? So I got with Vanessa and I was like, I'm one of those wonder and invention are my working geniuses, and my working frustrations are tenacity and discernment. Don't tell me, oh, naive, why we can't do it. I'm going to throw out all these ideas, and then I want people to think about how we can. And so finding the right people, getting them in the right place, and then hiring them to actually implement and do these things so that we could actually say, We started with 12 students. Now we've got 179 students sourced into roles and into the economy here in San Antonio.
Okay, so I love this. Is the name Craig Woolley? Does that
Yes.
okay, so he's the CIO at LSU. He's coming on tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, Craig, have you met Kendra? He's, I have not. I've
I
heard
met
of her.
Craig's CISO before, but I haven't met Craig's. Yeah.
I'm like, he has built this world-class SOC at LSU, and he's going to talk about it tomorrow. And he is helping other CIOs build SOCs. And I was like, no way, you did not connected. How? But
So
I get
Jody Penrod she is at Marshall.
it. Okay.
She's coming for a visit to our SOC.
Okay.
And she is trying to stand one up at Marshall. We are Marshall. That's, I think, going back to the SOC too, is that I want to plug my graduates. How cool would it be to know, as a student, I was sitting next to an analyst that worked for the city. And now I'm looking at and understanding some of the same correlation of data markers that they are. And now I'm driving the depth of my knowledge based on the experiential piece of that, of learning together. And I think that's the piece that comes out of that SOC environment. And when we built it out, I was like, they looked at me like I had 4 arms coming out of my head, because I was like, I want it to do this, and I want a glass screen when you walk up to it. A teaching and learning environment needs to be that. That means I should be able to have people in the background witnessing what's happening inside that classroom, right? That's learning, teaching, right? We made a huge glass screen. You walk up, you push the button, it goes opaque and you can't see it.
Yep.
You walk up, you have a class, you want to show them what on the big screen, but oh no, we have proprietary content, boom, hit the screen, can't see it. It was little things like that just made the students feel like they're part of something big. And so when they start to feel like they're part of something big, they start to contribute to something big.
Yeah.
And that's what I was hoping for, was that momentum insurance.
And I love the job piece on the back end.
Yeah, I want to see them get hired, man.
I want to see when they get hired.
And the other thing is, and I'm going to be quite honest, if you're in higher ed and you're not churning through your own, which you're not sampling what you produce.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be like you working in the security industry and you not using any of your security tools on your laptop. Think about that.
Yeah.
Higher ed's production is knowledge. Why are we not consuming the knowledge that we're creating in these students, right? And developing their skills to go out. Yeah, I source now so many of our roles. And by the way, I want to go back to a point you mentioned about coaching, because this is true. Back to the bench piece, right? How cool is it to know that you're that good of a coach, that you're prepping those kids, that they're coming to you to poach them for the next iteration and for the next team? And I don't know what's better. The one who wins the championship with the team that you built and learned at the beginning, or the one that watches the teams he built go off and win championships? Because I can tell you which one I would want to be. The one that built them. I don't care about who wins. And I just wanted to mention that because that's inspiring. You feel like you invest so much. And I actually have 2 people here that they invest so much in growing their skills. I was like, just so you can poach them. Sorry, but I'm going to poach them. Because that means you're churning and burning the skills ingrained in what we need, and now we're building our own. So.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. Probably there's coaching the team and winning, especially against a crosstown rival.
No.
Amazing. Greatest feeling. Seeing the kids who are the freshmen on the JV team, but then they're seniors on the varsity team, and I'm an assistant coach on the varsity team, seeing them win, and even just seeing them play, and then doing the whole jersey swap at the end of the season, I'm like crying. Like, you think I'm a high schooler.
And here's the thing, okay, so how is that any different? And I say this all the time in my org is, I can determine my success if the 5 leaders I built 5 more leaders, okay? Guess what you were talking about? You built 5 people to go to a championship team, they took off and they just built 5 more people. Do you see that? And the work we do is often very unrewarded until they start winning championships. And here's the other immediacy of the work we're doing. We don't find out right now the impact we have on them. You're gonna find out in about 10 years when those kids start reminding you and reminding of how you coached them and what they were learned from you. And that's gonna be beautiful. I'm sorry, that's where I'm in it. I do it for that.
No, and on a side track, so my wife is an educator. She's got her EDD, like that's her passion. Education is her passion. I'm biased, I think she's the best teacher in the world, but besides that, but we always go to the store, like.
And everyone's, hi, Mrs. So-and-so.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the thing, they'll walk in, they're like, Dr. Payne, and they'll run up to her and they'll give her this hug.
Yeah.
And she's left a mark on these kids.
That's your legacy, by the way. That's
the thing.
legacy
No,
stuff.
But that's the thing, that you leave this mark on these kids that are going to grow into something that are going to do
Great things.
Great things. We went to a graduation party, and that the kid was graduating high school, going into college. She's a senior English teacher, and they invited her specifically to come to the graduation party and spend time with the family because of the mark that she left on them in general.
And I think we all need that. Imagine the people that invested in you.
Right.
I look back at the people that invested in me, the people that invested in you. And I think oftentimes as leaders, we abdicate our most important duty, which is gratefulness. Man, I go back and talk to my mentors all the time. I'm like, thank you for that. What can I do better here? How can I do that? It's about growth.
One last thing too, and I know like you may have some other
We went
questions,
off,
but
we went, choom. Me too.
But like when I first became a leader at Elastic, Nick, he's our worldwide VP. He called me and he's, hey, I just want to say congratulations. You're going to be a great leader. If you ever need anything, I'm here. He goes, the only advice I could tell you is that take a look at what the good leaders did for you and mimic that.
Mirror it times 2.
Mirror it times 2. And I said, Nick, I'm on it. But I go, you know what drives me is all of the terrible leaders that I had and all of the things that they didn't do, like the support and the care and the love of giving you that balance of, yes, you can do this.
Adversity does grow champions, like
Right.
it does.
And
But trauma does not. Let's be. Did you hear Brene Brown today? Right? Like we often mistake that, but you're so spot on because that adversity actually fuels me. All it takes is someone to say to me, I was like, oh, you can't do it. I was like, okay, I can't. I think the things that have shaped me even are the jobs I didn't get.
Right.
Or the bad leaders that came into my life and they were there and they were churning and I opted to learn from them anyways.
Yeah.
You can learn from the bad ones just as much as you can from the good ones.
So I love this mentorship topic, and then we'll jump into the AI power search piece. But so I've got this private community called the Collaboratory, nationwide, now spans from Seattle and King County down to Miami and in between. One of the CIOs in the middle is Craig Hopkins here in San Antonio.
He's our city CIO.
And he's the city CIO.
He's fantastic.
His role on mentorship for the other CIOs that are in this group is incredible. I am like, man, if I was a kid, and he also teaches too. If I was a kid, I was like, I would love to work for him. He is absolutely fantastic.
Yep. And we share a lot of ideation around like the ideal team player, like
Yeah.
what it means, right?
Yeah, he's a huge fan of Patrick, but I just love, every time we have these monthly calls, I just have this like, every time I am learning from something, and he is passing it on to, there's this wave of like newer CIOs across the market.
And there's young and up-and-comers, right?
Yeah.
Like I see it right now.
Yeah. And I just love, I think that's one of the things I like about probably San Antonio, and next probably Houston too. It's just, there's such a culture of humility and like across. At the event I had last year at UTSA, it was incredible. It was like meeting Bear County and Evan at CPS. And
and all of these people, and normally the CIOs don't talk.
Yeah.
So when Craig and I got here, we joined about the same time. He came to the city and I came to UTSA, and it was one of those things as let's be intentional. Did he tell you we have a breakfast once a month?
He does, yes.
I'm hosting Fridays.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
I was like,
Love
we're
it.
going to go eat at the La Panaderia, but we all get together at these breakfasts like 7:30, 7:15 in the morning, and we talk about things that, oh, I'm experiencing that, or oh, I'm experiencing that. And then we're able to ideate and share because we're not alone in this, right? And that's the biggest piece is we're not alone. And to drive innovation, I think we have to ideate and understand what you're capable, like what you're and work that way together.
If you work in a silo, you're never going to get things done, ever. You have to share everything that's going on, like your failures and your successes. It's the only way to do
If
it.
you want to go fast, go alone.
Yep.
If you want to go far, go together.
You're spot on. I tell people that I hire, they'll say on the first day, what do the successful people do here? And I said, they work with others. Like they take people together. So when we are working on a project, and if you fail, that's okay. Everyone fails. But if you fail all by yourself, that's a problem. If you fail in a group, it's okay. That means you asked for help. You went out and you reached outside of your stubbornness of, I've got this, I'm gonna do it. You have to work well with others.
Oh yeah, failure is huge.
Oh, I love this.
I know. You know my theory on failure. I'm like fail fast, pivot faster.
Yes,
and I tell
absolutely.
my people like, I don't care if you stub your toe, fail and be like, oh man, I screwed up, and then pivot, right? Because it is on the other side of that failure is where that growth happens. That is where the nurturing, that's where you learn about why you failed. And when you learn about why you failed, you tend to not repeat it.
100%. And being uncomfortable in that situation makes you better.
Oh man, and that's another thing is I am comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one thing I think people don't recognize is that they think, oh, you're out doing this stuff. Like even these types of things, like there are still nerves, you still feel all of those things, right? But if you can talk yourself into being comfortable with being uncomfortable, it's just like, okay, it'll be over in a few minutes and it's temporary, moving on. It works for me even to this day.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I could go all day. I absolutely love that. Jared, I want to let you get a chance to get into the weeds a little bit. How is Elastic's AI-powered search and analytics helping higher ed institutions detect and respond to security threats faster? You've talked a little bit about that earlier, but I specifically want to hone in on, do you have a specific university that you can talk about where you guys ended up saving the day?
Yeah, actually, Texas A&M specifically. There was a ransomware project that went down in 2019 that got hit pretty hard. I don't know if it was the state of Texas in general, but at least I know it affected a lot.
DIR.
Yeah. And Texas A&M literally took our stuff and made it a mandate that any new laptop, desktop, server had to have our Elastic agent on it, because we have 100% detection across all of the stuff that's going on. Like we got to get it on there. And so we came in and we started ingesting all the logs, and Texas A&M, whom worked their butts off to get all this stuff fixed, we came in and we helped. They saved the day. Like Texas A&M saved the day, but they used Elastic in order to do that, which was it was pretty powerful. It's a pretty powerful story, and it was a really cool thing to see that. So when I first started here, we didn't even have a security solution. We had nothing. And I remember when they decided to move forward with a security solution, I was like, well, what is this going to look like? There's so many security solutions out there already. Like, why do we need another one? And then I realized that Elastic was taking it in a different direction. They were taking it to a vulnerability / customer first direction of, we want security analysts to be security analysts. We want to solve real world security problems. And how we have actually built that security solution based upon, like I said, our search, it's been a game changer in the security industry, to be honest with you. Like I used to go into meetings in a previous role, and it was like, and I'm joking when I say this, but I would have to take a shot of bourbon before going into the meeting, because it was like, why doesn't your stuff work? How come this stuff isn't doing anything? Like, why am I paying you all this cash? And now I go into meetings in Elastic, and it's a 180. It's, let me show you what I just built. You've got to see this. And it's because we have this developer community and this community of users that really care about the product, that have been using us for the past 10 plus years, that now we're innovating and doing all this really cool stuff and consistently innovating. And they want to show you how proud they are to build something with like a base set of Legos that we say, hey, build whatever you want, but these are the things that are going to make you successful, and they're out of the box. Go ahead and use these things out of the box. But if you want to build other things, go for it. There was a university that was running Elastic. They still are. And we came in for just a check, and I was in the area, and I called them like, hey, can I stop by, see how you guys are? Absolutely. I show up, and the two security analysts are showing me, like, Jared, I've got to show you this cool dashboard that I built. I said, absolutely. So they took some open source stuff, built this dashboard, and next thing you know, like this alert pops up on the Elastic stack, and they both start laughing. I go, what's so funny? They go, we have all of our key card readers in the office. We monitor all of the IoT devices. We got our CISO's NFC number, and we put it in the system. So when he checks in, we know that we have to start working and that he's coming into the office. And they started laughing.
Do you see what we have to stay ahead of? Because that is real. That is so amazing.
I started laughing, and I'm like, no, you don't. They're like, no, we work all the time. They're like, but we know when he's here.
Isn't it any different than the emails you could set to yourself? When your boss emails you and it's boss emailed, right? And you get a notification so you know to get in there and respond, you know?
But it's hilarious. But we're doing a lot of great things. And like I said earlier, the team that I have, that we all work together, is the best team that I've ever had in my entire life. I have no problem rolling up my sleeves and digging down and building out like SQL code or ESQL code, whatever it is that I need. Like even though I'm the leader, like I'm here to help the rest of the team do whatever they need to. So we're in it to win it.
So Kendra, from coaching basketball to cheerleading to breaking barriers in tech, so you've got a pretty diverse playbook, and you were overseas for a while too. How are you using all of these life experiences to shake up the way, this is the way it's always been done mentality,
Oh,
which drives me
that's
crazy.
my favorite.
I know. Give me an example of some of that out-of-the-box thinking that led to a major win recently.
Okay. So one major win I want to say, and I actually go back to the team. And so when I mentioned my strengths earlier, wonder and invention, that can also be a curse for a lot of folks who are trying to really hone into their operation, right? Because I keep telling them new things or new ideas or share this or share, and think about this or what about this. And so the first thing I did was I made every one of my engineers go back to design thinking. They all had to go back. And so when I arrive in an organization, I typically look at how they're staffed, and I call it my 30, 60, 90 litmus test. I look at what they're staffed at, what services they're offering. Do the services they offer enable their capabilities? Is it true enablement? And when I start to see a picture of we're doing 100 things at 40% and none of it's really working and jiving, and so I'll then, at my 60 days, draw it all in. Okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the plan. This is how we're going to go forward. But I think the biggest piece of that is in an organization that hates change, you put someone like me, who's a change agent, and using change leadership skills, I can get the buy-in pretty quick, because guess what my third working genius is? Advocacy. It's galvanizing, and galvanizing is advocacy, right? So if that's a strength of mine, I know I can go out and galvanize what they're doing and get buy-in from the folks and get the road cleared and the path cleared for them. And I think that's the biggest thing that sometimes folks don't do is they go into an organization and then they become part of that culture. But you have to remember, you were hired external for a reason. Why would you want to come in and be just like that? 6 most expensive words in business, that's how we've always done it. You tell me that, I'll arm wrestle you right now and prove to you. And I'm going to lose an arm wrestle, but I'll show you that think outside of the box, because what if that chocolate didn't know that peanut butter over there, when combined, was going to create a Reese's, right? No one knew. It could have created something yucky. But my point is somebody tried it, and somebody went and they tried it. And I think that's the pieces that I try to do in-house is let's try it. Let's see if it works. Let's mirror the behaviors. When we walk the walk and talk the talk and act the act, and we're part of it, they tend to become part of it too. And the reason I can say this is now working in an organization with many of these different pieces, and a piece that got us ahead was ideating. I'm just like, what about this? What about this? And so what they came up with was a prototype that you would have been like, what in the heck? I want to create our own internal, and don't you guys, anyone take my ideas. No, I'm just kidding.
There's a camera right there.
There's a camera. I want to create Runner GPT. Forget this whole chat GPT. Like, that doesn't matter to me, but think about what we as workers need at our desk. How many times people say, go to SharePoint and find that? Go find it here. Go find it on the intranet. Go find it here. Go to the single sign-on. Go to the same sign. I want all of that gone. I want a tool where I can go, where's the HR policy with that? And I hit Runner GPT, and she says, notice I said she says, here you are, it's located here, and because you have access to it, here's what the file looks like, here's where it is, and you don't have to search for anything else. I can help you today. And this has been tested in areas. I tested it. I have a very close colleague right now who's doing Triton GPT at UC San Diego, Vince Callanan. Okay. So yeah, so they're doing it, and they've got safety built into this model. They're running it on Llama 3, I believe, and it's all open source. And so thinking about the technical architectures here, but why would we not bring safety into it? So we uploaded a picture at this event, and I wanted to see how safe. I was like, okay, who is this a picture of? And Triton says, oh, it's this person. They're sitting on the side of a mountain. They're doing this and this. And then I asked a question is, how old are the people? Immediately shut down. The whole session shut down. I'm unable to share that information with you. It's a safety thing. I can start identifying this. So my point is, if we start doing that at design, all this bad design things and the results of those don't affect us as much.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's a long way around it, but I think that we have to sample, do, and try, and then turn around and challenge every single thing with why, because people want to know why. And I was actually thinking about that while ago when you said something is, when you get a group of people that put the authority where the information is, and they know the why of what they're doing, dude, you are going to have a Super Bowl championship that year,
Right.
because that team is going to churn and they're going to burn and they're going to be like, let's go and let's go. And so I started sampling that in-house. I started making small tiger teams. Let me see what this group would do. I put comms people. I learned this, I'm looking like this. I put people that had zero technology skills in specific locations to see what could happen there. And the technologists started learning about behaviors.
Yep.
Anyway, it's good stuff. I think that if we don't challenge it, and because I am a change agent, and by the way, you can tell me no, and I'll be like, okay, give me to yes.
Yeah,
Like, how
that's
can we get to
exciting.
yes without breaking up? Give me to yes. And that typically means you've got to be a little uncomfortable, and I've got to be a little uncomfortable. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's in the media space, building tech tables from 0 to 1, from scratch. Everyone told me couldn't do it. I've actually been to conferences where people told me this podcast is DUMB. There's no one. All people want to talk about are their top 3 priorities.
That's ridiculous.
And I was like, that's pretty boring.
Notice we didn't talk about a lot of bits and bytes, and then we got a little technical, but like the bits and the bytes are like, meh, they're there.
Getting to know like how you do business, why you do the things that you do.
That's where the
that's what
secret
it-
sauce
that's,
is,
that's
man.
what it is. Yeah,
You're spot
absolutely.
on.
And the craziest thing about that is that so many folks still don't understand that, which is why I'm sitting in the Carousel booth right now recording this podcast. And it's very hard because I'm actually almost single-handedly trying to change the market. And it is risky, it is a grind.
And it's failure.
And it's
times
failure.
10. But you know what? You keep going.
Pivot.
Because those
pivot.
failures, you pivot and you learn from it. And you're like, oh, that approach didn't work. What about this? Yeah, iterate.
Even for the private community I have, it took me probably 7 months to figure out the agenda. You'd be like, why does it take so long? I'm like, I'm not a CIO. So to intimately sit with CIOs around the country to really figure out how do I make this valuable for these folks? And I'm just dissecting everything. And then around month 7 or 8, I really nailed it. I'm like, oh, this is great. We've got the formula. We've got this guest speaker. They're going to talk about this. We're going to have this piece.
And
Then
the
we're
table.
Then we're going to have a round table for 30 minutes for each member, and we're going to do a tear down on their business. So they're going to talk about their business for 10 minutes, and then we're going to have open Q&A. You get to be brutally honest about what's going on. Other CIOs get to speak into your game plan, which is a ton of fun. But that community didn't exist. It existed because I'm trying to figure this out, didn't really have quite the idea. And it actually happened because Craig was a kind of early supporter after the event at UTSA. And hey, I'm looking for this. And so I'm listening to those whispers, right? Okay, interesting. So looking for this, looking for that. And then
We need connection.
Yeah.
And that's the piece I love about it. And it was first, we're all skeptical, right? We're, like you said, where's it going to go? What's going to happen? What I appreciate is the connective tissue that we make with the Craigs, with the folks that are like out there in industry. That's where we learn from, right?
Yeah.
And I think if we're not doing that as CIOs, we're getting our information in a very compartmentalized way.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. So I love the out-of-the-box thinking. It is risky. It's tough. But I think leadership, you're not going to make everyone happy. That's just the role sometimes. But you can be gracious. You don't have to be a jerk. But you can set the tone for the culture that you want. And
Yeah, don't mistake kindness for weakness, right?
yeah, no
That's
mistake.
it's like people tend to do that, but it's like going back to that is when you nurture and grow people, I am just as feisty and fiery in protecting them too.
Yeah. I stole
That's
this.
the piece that I'm in.
I stole this from someone else. I really love it. So recently, last couple months, I hired an assistant, Riley, and she's fantastic. I have a Slack channel, and it's called Love Proof. So anytime there is something a CIO sends me or something about the event or someone is raving, I'll take a screenshot of it, and it's just me and her, and I'll send it to her so that she can start to see the impact that the connections are having in the community. It's very hard for her. She lives in Maryland. So it's very hard for her to see this, but
The results of it, yeah.
yeah, and so she's starting to see, and she's either CC'd on all my emails, and so she's like, wow, that's awesome. Like, this woman, Kendra, she's so excited, right? And this person, Jared, she doesn't quite know who they are, but she's like slacking me, like, this is so cool to see this happening. And so I guess part of getting your team fired up and getting that buy-in.
And then putting her out there and having her do those things too, you're creating that confidence and skills in her just from an investment. Knowing you, and think about when we produce, right? We know people are investing in us and we're like, oh man, that drives us, right?
Yeah.
It drives. It does.
It does.
And so
Because you've seen the success. You want to make it happen. You want to grow things. You want to make things special.
I want to make it better than when I found it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, so we're gonna jump to the closing piece. And Jared, I'll start with you. If you could give one piece of advice to a rising technology leader in higher ed, what would it be?
That's a great question. And I think it goes back to what Kendra said earlier, right? Be kind, be humble, care about others. You have to care about others, right? It's what makes good leaders. If you don't and honestly care about others, right? That's the thing. Like, you have to be a good human, but also too, you have to see the bigger picture. Putting your teammates and the people that you work with in uncomfortable situations to get better day over day. That's what matters. That's how you're gonna get better. And then that's how you're gonna grow as a leader. But also too, another thing too, is everybody could always be better at something, always. And so every day I wake up and there's two things that I think about. One is, what am I gonna do today to get myself to be a better leader? What could I do to be a better leader today? And then two, how am I gonna grow the business? So those are like the 1, 2, right? But those are the two things that are important to me outside of my daughters and like my family and everything else that comes along with it. But I think it really just comes down to listening, being empathetic, being humble, being kind, and being a good person. That's what good leaders are. Everything else will happen. Everything else will come. I promise you, it'll come. If you don't listen to others and you don't take their opinions and you don't give them a chance to be successful, your team will never be successful. You will never be successful, and whomever you're working for or whatever you're doing is not going to be successful. That's the best advice that I can give is just be real and be who you are and don't conform. You can't conform. And I think, Kendra, you said that earlier, this is the way we've always done it, or to some of that extent, like that drives me nuts. Like, I don't care if that's the way you've always done it. Like, you want an end goal, go get it.
Yeah.
There's a guy that I used to work with at Red Hat, and he told me this one time, and I'm never gonna forget it. If your goal is to get to the top of a mountain, and you're climbing up that mountain, you're gonna run into a big boulder. You have a couple options. One, you can turn around, just go back down the hill, and that's it. And then your goal's still gonna be at the top of the mountain, but you've moved on, you went somewhere else. Two, you can figure out how to get rid of that boulder. Dynamite, climb over it, go around it, maybe go try the other side. Because once you clear that, then you get to a layer of barbed wire, right? You can also turn around and go back. But the whole idea is that your goal is the top of that mountain, and you have to keep moving. No matter what it is, no matter what's in front of you. And as a leader, you're driving the people that are working on the projects and the things that you're doing and whatever it is that you have on your plate, you're driving them to the top of that mountain. And you're that change agent. You're the person that drives them up there. And the way that you always do things is not a correct answer, because it's not going to get you to the top of that mountain.
Yeah, no, that's great. Kendra, if you can give one piece of advice to a rising technology leader at UTSA, what would it be?
Stay curious. I think oftentimes we don't stay curious, and children remind us to stay curious. And if you ever want to be inspired, go to a mall, sit in a play area, and watch children start to pretend. Watch them start to remain curious and always seeking that awe of what is happening. And I think that if we can stay curious, right, to what is possible, then we'll seek whatever that may be. And so I think that's important. And then I also always say is just be authentic, be yourself, right? There's no one else like you in the world. And that's pretty damn cool. And so lean into that. That means invest in your self-awareness. Invest in your ability to communicate. Be a listener. Be inclusive, right? Diverse groups create diverse ideas.
Yes.
And so I think all of those things help shape that. And then I'm going to use something that I heard today, and I actually had it presented to me when I was very young. And I grew up in a very small town in a Presbyterian children's home in Amarillo, Texas. And Mother Barry looked at me one day and she's like, my goodness, curiosity is gonna get you in trouble. And I think that I look at that now and I drive that, because that curiosity is actually what has landed me where I'm at. And I'm glad now that someone at a very young age, I think I may have been 9, reminded me to stay curious, because that now, curiosity drives the 5 whys. Oh, we're gonna roll out whatever widget, tool, whatever. Why? 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 And when you get to the fifth why, you find out, because we've had that widget, we know how to use it, it's easy. That's not ideating. That's choosing ease. And what people don't realize, when they choose ease, they actually make it more complex. Being complex is easy. Being easy is hard. Does that make sense? Anyway, so that's what I would say. All of that and what you said.
Okay, so I love it. In the words of my friend Ryan Murray, who's the state CISO in Arizona, I'm gonna double click on what you said real quick. On the authentic piece, really funny, a lot of people will go, hey Joe, we're trying to find someone like you at our company who will do the podcast and stuff. We just can't find anyone that's like you. And I was like, no, I'm honored, I hear you. Because I am authentically me, you cannot copy me, you cannot copy Tech Table. It's not humanly possible. It is literally, this is this show on this camera, all this happening. This is Joe Tosti, you can't. So I love that authentic piece. I think a lot of people try to be somebody else. You should just be yourself.
Yeah, and when you are yourself and you know yourself, guess what? You can govern yourself.
Yeah, and you become very comfortable with who you are. Like, this is who I am. This is what you're gonna get. It's the real thing. All right, I loved today's conversation. This is fantastic. I am curious, Jared, is there anyone that you would recommend that I should interview next for this, who's doing incredible work in this space?
I've got a lot. It's really hard to narrow it down. Off the top of my head, Adam at Texas A&M, CISO over there, he's doing an amazing thing.
Mark Stone?
Mark Stone. David Lamb at UC Davis Health. He's fantastic. David Lamb is one of the most curious people I have ever met in my entire life. He literally breaks elastic on purpose. Like, he's our QA tester. And he'll come in and be like, I'm trying to do these 15 transactions, how to do it. Anyway, he's fantastic. So David Lamb's one of those. Gary at UNMC is another great guy. We have so many amazing users. Mark at UC Berkeley. So yeah, I would stick with those 6 because they're fantastic. I'd say Ryan Murray because I love Ryan, but
He's been on 4 times.
yeah, is he?
Yeah. 3 times, yeah. Twice in Houston,
Okay.
once in Arizona.
Have you done Frank Fegans yet? Have you talked to Frank?
No, I
We need
haven't.
to get you with Frank. He's UT Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Next time Ryan comes on, I want to come on with him.
Yeah, so at my Phoenix event that I had earlier this year, Ryan Murray always wears a fedora.
Yeah.
So I also had him, and then I had the state CISO, Ralph Johnson from Washington, came down. The two of them both wear fedoras. And
Did you wear one?
I did not wear one, but they fought over, because it was the Final Four, I had a basketball in the middle. They fought to who gets to put their hat on the ball. And I'm like, whoa. And they were like, legitimately, no, my hat's going on the ball for this episode. So it's pretty funny. So Ryan's got his hat on there.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
That is awesome.
I'll have to send you those episodes.
Please do.
with
I talked to
Ryan.
Ryan quite a bit. He's a big dude.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And side note, because I know Ryan, you're a listener. One of my favorite things about Ryan is he is willing to collaborate with local government. Sometimes the state folks will not do that. And I had him on with Dr. Chris Mitchell, who's the CISO for the city of Houston last year. And it was incredible to have them come together.
That's when you solve city problems.
Yeah.
When you bring the researchers with the industry. Matter of fact, that's why I love higher ed. Government, university, industry, all of that combined together. You want to solve a city problem? Put them all together, share data, share all of those things. That's why I love working with Craig. And what can we do as a research entity to help you propel and accelerate that? So, yeah.
So we're going to close out with you. Anyone else that you would recommend for the podcast episode that we should highlight?
Oh, yeah. So I think, you definitely should talk to Frank. I think Dr. Vince Kellen, he can really lean into some AI concepts for you. So things that they're doing at the University of California, San Diego, AI is just wow.
I love it. We're going to end the show right now. It's not going to be out yet, but Vince, we want you on the pod. Thank you both for coming on the Public Sector Show by Tech Tables. Appreciate you both.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
It was great. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Joe Tosti from TechTables.com, and you're listening to the Public Sector Show by Tech Tables. This podcast features human-centric stories from public sector CIOs, CISOs, and technology leaders across federal, state, city, county, and higher education. You'll gain valuable insights into current issues and challenges faced by top leaders. Through interviews, speaking engagements, live podcast tour events, we offer you a behind-the-mic look at the opportunities top leaders are seeing today. And to make sure you never miss an episode, head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Hit that follow button and leave a quick rating. Just tap the number of stars that you think this show deserves.